Boom, good morning, legends. So, we're going early today because we had to cut last night's live stream short. Apologies for that, folks. I had kickboxing and everything was just, I ran myself out of time, so apologies, but let's have a look at this.
Can I see your Brit card, please?
I don't have one. I don't have a smartphone.
Can I get another pint, please?
Sorry, sir. Your Brit card says you've exceeded your alcohol quota for this week.
Sorry, sir. Your Brit card says you've already flown twice this year. We're having to restrict passengers with higher than average emissions profiles.
Sorry, I'm afraid your funds have been temporarily frozen. Your recent social media post did not align with the government's narrative.
Sorry, I'm afraid your Brit card says you cannot purchase any more meat this week as part of our commitment to achieving net zero.
I've just logged in using my Brit card and it's saying I've already had 3 hours of internet today and it's locked me out. Can I see your Brit card?
Yes, we're living in interesting times, folks, but it's all good, don't worry. And we're going to be picking this apart a little bit deeper than probably the mainstream alternative platforms will do. And, let's just get into it, shall we? Morning, legends. I hope you're going to have the best day ever. And I just wanted to say a couple of things quickly before we get into the stream. There's a lot going on in the world, isn't there? Isn't it wonderful to see how many people now are just absolutely saying fuck off to all this bloody medical nonsense stuff that's coming round again, and that everyone, I mean, that petition now, look at it, coming up for 3 million people. Yes, folks, we know about petitions, yada, yada, yada. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, 3 million people is a significant amount. You wouldn't have got that saying no to the old, medical procedure back four years ago, would you? Or whenever it started. So people are starting to wise up. A couple of things. What's happening, folks, is I'm getting so many tabs open here, trying to keep up with everything that's going on. And then I'm trying to be like, trying to get it word perfect for you or put it concise. And it's ending up that I'm having to go live and talk about so many things that it's getting hard for me to do. It's probably getting boring for you to do. So I've got to stop trying to dot all the T's and cross all the I's or whatever that expression is and just talk. The other thing is ignore the thumbnails and the titles, folks. I can't keep working for free. I've actually been saying this, I think, for 3 years now, and I've managed to keep going thanks to the wonderful people that support me on Patreon and locals. Who've joined our Legends Club or have just become a YouTube member or support me on Buy Me a Coffee, because there isn't any money doing this, folks. I gather that there's some content creators make a few quid. I'm not that person, folks, so I can't keep working for free and doing the best videos on YouTube, the most informative, because it incorporates the spiritual battle, which most people don't understand, and keep doing it at the expense of my family. Do you get what I'm saying? So don't take everything with a pinch of salt. It's more important the content. And on that note, I'm getting hit up by a lot of people that it's kind of like, hey Chris, you don't get it. It's the Bavarian, tango dancers from the Germanic tribe of Gnostic fucking this or that, excuse my French, this time in the morning. And everyone's completely missing a point. Yes, there's all of that. There's so many complex interwoven layers going into what's created the New World Order. There's some threads that we absolutely have to understand. That's the money magic, the Babylonian debt slavery, the usury, the gaslighting through the mainstream media, the function of Hollywood, and the function of the music industry. This is the apparatus that's been chaperoning you into, you know, an indoctrinated, brainwashed box. Not you, I mean society. And let's be honest, folks, when you look at those industries and the medical stuff, it's all the same network behind it, isn't it? You know, Satan's little helpers. And we've got to understand that and not have hate in our hearts. We've got to cut through that the right way with the right tools to do the job professionally, as all you veterans out there train to do. And that does involve expanding our mind a little bit and changing our paradigms from one of violence and anger to one of dissolution. Is that when you dissolve something? We've got to dissolve their system, not fight it. And there's too much division at the moment, you know? It's too much division. People getting upset about terminology in a podcast when what we should all be doing is getting into scripture and unraveling the code with this incredible dictionary that I keep suggesting you buy. Not just because I might make about 3 pence if you do. There's a link for this below, folks. You can buy it through my Amazon affiliate account. You don't pay any more. But we need to be understanding the knowledge of the ancients, because this has gone on for time immemorial, this indoctrination system, this, you know, good against evil. And it's fought on a higher plane than people can understand. And we have to access that plane and work on it. We need the knowledge. So this is the important thing. Does it matter if the Bible was like I wouldn't get in the weeds with it all, folks. You're not after that. You're after the allegory. Bread in scripture symbolizes chi, prana, energy from heaven, your downloads. The reason people go and do yoga is for this manna from heaven. Fish symbolizes wisdom. It's not something that you catch in a net and eat for your tea, right? It's a second thing going on there. Whether there was a place called Bethlehem, I mean, I've been in Bethlehem twice, so I know there's a place called Bethlehem. Whether it actually historically, when these scriptures were written, many of them, the New Testament incidentally was written by Paul, from what I understand. When he talks about the gospel according to Luke, that's not Jesus's Luke. Whether there was a guy called Yeshua or not, that's not important, folks. Or I know it's important to you, and I got my relationship with Jesus as well, haven't I? But that's not the important thing. The important thing is understanding the secret code that's been laid down through the ages that the 99.999% don't understand. And the other thing I say there is, it's quite easy to live to get it right in life, folks. Literally do what everyone else doesn't do. That would be my suggestion. When everyone's hopping on this bandwagon and they're telling you that, this is the new conspiracy theory, I do the opposite, folks, because I see the groupthink that's the groupthink that's there, and I see that no one is decoding this through allegory. They're just diving onto the next conspiracy that gives them a dopamine hit, overcomes their, temporary self-medicates their childhood trauma and makes them think that they found this new family and we get it, but you guys don't get it. And that's all what we're trying to avoid. Anyway, I've said enough. Let's just get into it. Before I do, can I just say massive thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the people that have supported my upcoming Mount Everest summit to shine a light for struggling veterans and to make the link between childhood trauma and PTSD in later life. I was watching a video last night about my mate Craig, who many of you know left an awful message on Facebook fairly recently and then went off and hung himself. It was massively devastating in the veterans community. And I watched this video all about him last night, and all it did was said it's because of Afghanistan. Now, in Craig's suicide note, it didn't say nothing about conflict, folks. It said, I feel terribly let down by these individuals, right? And I'm not saying we should blame them, folks. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is the inability to cope in relationships is because we're focusing on the wrong thing. We're focusing on the physical material and on human beings who are always going to let us down eventually. Unless maybe it's your mum, right? And how do we get around that material blocker is we tune into the divine, but no one's ever been taught how to do it or the methods that you can use to short circuit this human misery. Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be let down. Any of you live through the scam vid. You know what it's like to have all these people turn their back on you. That's when you've got to tune into the divine and go, who cares? It doesn't matter, does it? What matters is your beautiful manifestation. If you want to call that of God, Mother Nature, the divine universe, that is what you are. You're the universe experiencing itself subjectively. And who do you answer and go to first? You go to your creator, don't you? Your universe. Everything else is fringe. And you are not that weak and pathetic and disliked and useless that you need to rely on backstabbing people for your, for your daily bread, for your manna from heaven. You're better than that, And in addition, you're massively loved as well. I love you unconditionally. You know what I mean? And all my crew and my supporters do. So, let's start getting this in perspective, folks. If you try and live in the 3D material matrix, you're gonna get happy, and you're gonna be like that woman with a shopping bag in the Gospel according to Thomas, the Gnostic Gospel. So when people say, Chris, why do you believe that? I say, I don't believe it. I know it. It's two very different things. Gnosticism is a result. Knowing is a result of enlightenment, folks, and it's there for you. But you've got to want to learn it. It's you've got to accept that doing things the human way doesn't work. So we're going to be getting more into Gnosticism and how do we access this eternal energy? Because the woman in the Gospel of Thomas, so one of the Nag Hammadi findings over there in Egypt, in this clay jar, they found this lost Gospel in the theme of the Jesus story, I should say. And it said the woman, she had a shopping bag. She's coming home from the shops or market or whatever it was. And she didn't realise there's a hole in it. And when she gets home, her shopping bag is empty. Harvard scholars don't understand what that story means. They scratch their heads going, this is just crazy. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean... Yes, of course it means everything. Why do you think on the Sumerian tablets they all have these little bags that they carry? It's cool. It's the divine. It's a representative of the divine, the energy, the chi, the prana, what your life fills with when you access the higher consciousness, which you do by retuning your biochemical mechanism. And this woman who's gone her whole life calling people conspiracy theorists and let me have, hit me up with another medical procedure. I've only had 36 so far. Go on, give me another. That'll make me safe. And, if they say it on the BBC, it's got to be true, isn't it? Because they've got our best interest at heart. It's saying that this woman gets the end of her life, the end of her shopping trip, and never realised that she had it all. And now she's got nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? Right, anyway, let's crack on with this. In no particular order, I'm just going to go over a few things. So, I think it's Miles Harris got in contact. Miles and I are going to do a show. Miles, sorry if I've got your surname right, but Miles recognised that there's something more going on with this digital ID business. I'm going to be building towards trying to explain what that possibly could be. But we've got this massive build-up, haven't we, of this, what's been described as a messianic technocracy. So messianic, that's your kind of Old Testament, people who take the Old Testament literally, that slaughter animals and all this kind of stuff, thinking it's going to bring around a new temple and then the Messiah will appear. Christ knows who he's going to be. But that if they can bring and it intertwines with Kabbalah when it talks about the divine sparks that emanate from Creator, and how if you can control those sparks, you can create basically your new world order. And this is all being backed up by technology. So they're trying to bring around this messianic, their new Messiah and the new world order centered out of the new Jerusalem, with the use of their technocrats, is that the right word, and their fake medical infrastructure. And we're just going to be looking at what the indicators are there and where is it heading and why. So Blackrock, biggest investment company on the planet, alongside Vanguard, owned by Larry Fink, this chap here. I don't think Larry Fink likes you folks, okay? So let's just get this in perspective. I think he's part of a network. I have got nothing against the guy, nothing except love. Don't wish him any harm. But I see what's going on here, right? These two, that they've got stronger links than you'd realise. That's all I can really say at the moment. But you've got BlackRock, who's basically buying up the UK, forcing out the small person out of, being able to buy property, etc., etc. Also, they have the leading share on the stock market in every single company on the stock market. It's a bit of a simplification, but if you think of it like that. So when you see a oil deal done in the North Sea, that's BlackRock who's deciding what's going to be done. When you see something in Israel or USA, whatever it is, that's BlackRock who's using their power to say how they want the new world order to be created. We looked at Palantir. Palantir is a huge data mining and control and management operation that have basically just taken over the British military. Certainly the day-to-day running of stuff that they're going to streamline. And yes, you're going to get people saying, well, that's a great thing because we waste so much money on paper clips and, this submarine went to the wrong ocean and all this kind of stuff. But, of course, what Miles was suggesting, and I haven't watched his videos, but the conclusion I'm coming to is they're going to bring this stuff in by the back door, folks. They want people saying that. This digital ID, it's coming. It's just not coming from the way that what Starmer did the other day was just test the water to see what the resistance is like. And could they get away with it off the back of the Tommy Robinson, can we say, psyop? Sorry if that offends you. I mean no disrespect. I know everyone that went to London is a wonderful person, a patriot who wants the best for this. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this lot are clever. This lot, they're one step ahead of you all the time until we stop them being one step ahead of us. And nothing is not a part of their plan, you know? You think that they're just going to give up on digital ID? They're going to bring it in. They're going to bring it in through the back door, and they're doing it with companies like this, because eventually you'll be in a situation where all your mates go in the nightclub. You got the choice. You're going to stay on the pavement. You know, it's your 21st birthday. Of course you're not. You're going to go, what's that app that I've got to have? Oh, it's all voluntary, isn't it, at the moment? It's not, you know, there's no law forcing me. It's voluntary, but all my mates are now sat, you know, snorting lines and drinking champagne. I'm out here on the pavement. I want to be in there, you know, or it'll be a medical thing. Oh, Mr. THRALL, if you were only to, you know, sign up for the new government system, you'd have your operation so much faster because we'd be able to access this, and this about you. But at the moment, we're having to do it this. So what do you want to do? Do you want to wait 3 years for the operation, or do you want it, you know, in next month? Oh, that's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it? Because I'm in chronic pain at the moment. Oh, I'll go for the one next month. What do I sign up this thing? You know, they're not telling you it's digital ID, but it is, isn't it? You know, it is. Hope that let me know in the comments. Does that make sense? Right, moving on. Yes, you can see, look, in Palantir, this big data mining company that's done a huge deal in the UK, Vanguard and Blackrock are their leading shareholders. And I'd say that 10%, 9.43, that's a significant control of the company, is it not? This is, I think, where it's going, folks. This is a data AI center entrepreneur. I'm not blaming this chap or anything, folks. If it wasn't him, it would be somebody else. He's called Josh Payne. He's got something called N-Scale. It's backed by NVIDIA, which is the one that makes your computer the cards for your computer. And Nokia needs no explaining. And he's raised 750 million to build the UK's biggest AI data center. Now, what's happening here, and what the public aren't aware of, and again, when you relate it to kind of, you know, when you get all these patriots aware of the destruction of sovereignty across Europe and America, which is all part of the plan, isn't it? There's so many more factors here that are going on that's just too much for the average mind. And what's happening here is everyone's buying into this data, and I do it every day. I use AI every day. It's highly convenient as a content producer. It saves you loads of time, and it gets you information like that would take you, you know, a day or two researching. So, you know, we're going to have to kind of reassess this as we go along, aren't we? But these data centers now are so huge and so vast, and the biggest ones are like Amazon, Facebook, you know, all the big names. And if they're in, say, a county in America, they're using up more energy for the data center than the rest of the county put together, or a significant percentage, let's say. They actually physically hum and make such a noise that they're upsetting the residents who've just got, they're putting these huge centers. We're talking like they're the size of Buckingham Palace, and they're shoving it in towns. They're buying up the parkland and the woodland, and they're shoving these centers, and they're throbbing. And they've got these huge cooling towers on them because they're all water cooled, obviously, because of the data that's the electricity that's running through them. And here's the thing, it's estimated by 2020, let's just say 2028, that these centers will account for it's like 20% of the US energy. Well, where's that energy going to come from, right? And we're going to come on and look at the war machine in a minute. America's now ramping up for war, isn't it? Did you see the Peter Hegseth speech? Let's see if I can find it. Just have a look at this, right? All the woke stuff, that's served its purpose now. That's getting kicked out.
Felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos.
He said beardos, as in like what I've got on my face.
The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles.
Look at the hands.
Is done. Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position. Or a job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent.
Okay, you get the point. He also talked a lot about the LGBT or whatever that stuff is, how it's all become a load of bollocks. He actually blamed, this isn't a meeting where he's got all the generals and colonels together. And I think it's in Quantico, Virginia, which is the head of the CIA, is it not? He's basically lecturing all these people that have been told, right, let's put women in jobs that are not suitable for them, but just to meet the woke agenda. Let's let's lower standards so that everyone can just have beards and all this kind of stuff. And now he's telling them all, you got to reverse all that, and they've changed the name of the Defense Department. So the Department of Defense is now called the Department for War. Now, why would they do that? And here's just a suggestion, folks. Look at the energy that's required for these AI centers. And this is the future, the way it's going. Nobody's questioning the AI, are they? And saying, oh, let's put a hold on that. That's going to be damaging for the environment. Nobody. Everyone's going along with it. And, as long as their phone works faster and they've got the cloud and using AI for work. So lots of ramifications here. First off, the labour market. If everyone's job is now being done by AI, where are those people going to go? They're going to want digital credit system, aren't they? They're going to want to get their wage, to go home, sit watching Netflix and get paid the money in, a basic income into their accounts so they can live. That's an issue, is it not? Then, of course, where's the energy going to come from? Why are they ramping up the war machine? Or that's what it looks like. Is this the intention to go into Iran, for example, or to further secure the Suez Canal? when the energy wars start kicking off, or, and this is certainly a thing, what about reducing you? Because you're the problem, aren't you? This lot, why do they want, Stan and his wife and kids, who's, Stan's not particularly really important in their new world order, is he? He's doing his job 9 to 5. He's having his fish and chips when he gets home and putting the football on, and cutting the grass on a Saturday, whatever Stan's family. Like, does Stan really need that energy? Or does the New World Order need it for their AI apparatus? It's just a question, folks, isn't it? So yeah, that's your date. That's data. It's all very well and good, all using this stuff, but where's the energy going to come from on a planet that's already, I'd say, the resources are probably, I don't think stretched, but I think that the oil and the gas and the coal is in the ground for a reason. I think it's supposed to be there. I think it's quite naive to think when you've got the natural shock absorbers of a planet that you can just take all that out and there'll be no comeback on it. The same with a metal, Earth is an electromagnetic system, isn't it? It's a torus field in itself. What, you're going to take all the metal out of the rocks? That's, surely that could have implications. So, Hegseth, funny one with Hegseth. He was in the National Reserve. I think he's been in Iraq and Afghanistan as a guardsman, so an American reservist. And he actually got kicked out for having a tattoo on his arm that said Deus Vult, which apparently was the old war chant of the Knights Templar, or during the Crusades. What does it say here? Look, and yes, I'm using Wikipedia, folks, just for ease. Deus Vult is a Christian motto historically tied to ideas of divine providence and individual interpretation of God's will. It was first chanted by Catholics during the First Crusade. What a surprise. So basically saying there, I've got a tattoo, which means I don't have to do any of that, energy, vibration and frequency and opening up my pineal, my pituitary gland, connecting with a higher energy. Now I can't do that. I can push my own religious narrative. People here got upset. They said his speech could have been in an email. He was calling out fat generals, pushing fitness standards that could limit women in combat roles. So immediately they've gone to the political and the woke agenda, haven't they? It's not about limiting women. It's about getting the people up there that can scrap, isn't it? And the ones that can't scrap, well, you don't really want to be going to war, do you? Because you're going to get your face smashed in. But what they're saying there is, why did they make such a big display of it? What was going on? Right, moving swiftly on. The whole Erica Kirk thing become a bit of a fiasco, hasn't it? It's almost sort of embarrassing, really. This person that really
it's
looks
similar
like,
with Turning Point USA. Charlie had a plan moving past 2030 that he's shared with the team and has implemented. So
yeah, I wouldn't read too much into this, folks. Personally, if you ask me, it's all a show, isn't it? What actually happened to Charlie, I have no idea. I wouldn't like to speculate. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff now talking about his Lavella microphone and that the round came from that and this kind of thing. We've got this chap here, this George Zinn chap. There's always There's always a George Zinn, isn't there? Or a Jakob Rubenstein, or who was the one at the Sandy one? Can't remember his name. There's always this like fly in the ointment type character that comes out and obfuscates the situation. Let me know if that's the right word. I meant, confuses, muddies the water. And in this case, it's this guy. And it turns out he's been at all the, swearing in of all the presidents in the USA. He's been at he was at 9/11 when the planes hit. It's a bit bizarre. This is Debbie Downer, once known as Amazing. This is Amazing Polly on X. If you wanted to go and find that. Sorry, my tabs need refreshing. Then they've replaced Charlie, haven't they, with this sickly ultra Zionist that's already conflating or aggravating the whole situation with by dividing the left and the right, which is exactly what they want. Her old music video's been trending. Remember, this is an actress, folks, and this video's come to light along with all the Nicolas Cage Snake Eyes symbolism, which some would argue is coincidence, whatever, like the guy shot called Charlie Kirkland. Incidentally, I found the original movie script for that, the original film script, written by one of America's top film writers. And Charles Kirkland in the movie Snake Eyes, who was the Minister of Defense, was shot in the head. And in the film, it was there. So there was someone had changed that at some point in the evolution. Whether that was because they wanted to get it through the censors, and it's easy to have a bit of blood dripping out your neck, isn't it, than have a full-on JFK done to you. We shall never know, but someone was pointing out that along with her acting, Erica has done this video. Oh, and she did a video of a chap called Tyler. So in the Nick Cage Snake Eyes video, one of the lead characters is Tyler the Executioner, who's in the boxing ring, and he plays a guy that confuses the waters, a bit like our George Zinn guy. Remember the actual Tyler Robinson muddied the waters, didn't he? He conveniently, all the focus is on him, and it would look like in an attempt to stop people questioning other narratives. It was the same in the film Snake Eyes. Now we've got this symbolism. She did a music video. She did a music video with a chap called She's My Kind of Crazy. And she's left a comment on it saying, had a blast shooting with Tyler. So Tyler's the lead singer of this band. And as they go down a zip line, they go past this 9/10, which was the actual date, wasn't it, that Charlie met his end. They're also saying it's 9/10 on the Snake Eyes video, the date of that boxing match, but it's not. It's September the 19th at 10 p.m, which is quite interesting because that's 9. 19th is 1 add 9 is 10. Add the 1 from the 10 p.m. is 11, isn't it? It says 9/11 if you're into your possible symbolism. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, my tabs all need refreshing. Have a look at this for a mausoleum. Can't just be normal, can they? Can't just be like, can you cremate me ashes and chuck them down behind the Asda? Maybe leave me a pint can of Stella as a tombstone. No, Nick's only gone and built himself. This is in 2010. Built himself 2 massive pyramids. Ancient Egyptian iconography. Why he's done that? Just order out of chaos, isn't it? More confusion. Dun, dun, dun. If you want to go down a few rabbit holes, Rich has been on the show a few times. He's a super bloke, Richard Willett. He really gets into a lot of stuff. But I would say, folks, very hard. It's hard for people that haven't had the light to understand that there's something also going on here. You can talk about the kind of matrix construction as much as you like. You know, he did this and then they did that, and we've got the dark overlords and the reptilians and the bankers and the Canaanites, and then they become the Phoenician, and like whatever. That's not how they're controlling you, is it? It doesn't matter who it is. It's how are they controlling you? How have they got the world miserable? Why has society become absolutely broken? If you don't think it's broken, folks, walk around the block in the morning like I do most mornings. You know, when you go for your jog or your run or your walk, just look at people coming towards you and say, is he going to wish me a very happy good morning? Or is he going to go like this? And walk by like a broken thing, you know? And it's sad when you see our young people like this. They've had no, you know, their parents' generation were the same wimpy people that just didn't teach them. You know, when someone comes in a room, you stand up, you introduce yourself and say hello. Can I help you? Is anything you need? You know, whatever it is. That's what raises the vibration, raises the energy. That's what makes another person feel secure, welcomed. We've allowed them to just use their energy, vibration, and frequency to dumb the whole planet down and absolutely traumatize everyone to the point where people are too shy now to even say hello. And it gets weird. When you're a professional now, I'm quite fortunate. I haven't had to have a job for quite a few years now, but I remember when I worked in the social field and you walked into a training meeting and there's like 20 professionals all sat round in a circle in the room, and you walk in and like not one person looks up and says hi. And we think we're going to take down the New World Order. We've got to get our game face on a bit, have we not? So, what's the president saying here?
And we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders. And we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. Good man, very good man.
There you are, Tony Blair. Very, very good man, folks, Tony Blair. Trust the plan, do you know what I'm saying? Yes. Time's running out a bit for that, is it not? Along with all the other kind of like bizarre decisions that are being made. So let's have a look at Tony. And again, folks, I'm not slagging Tony off. I know I call him Tony the toilet cleaner. I'd expect him to have a dig at me. You know, next time I meet him, probably going to be never, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think pouring out negative energy and wasting it in the wrong areas is part of the reason that we're all in this mess. But you know, he has thrust himself onto the world stage. He has thrust himself into my life with his decision making, and I think it's only fair to to talk about that. He's now been appointed as Gaza's best hope for peace, hasn't he? So he's the kind of US or Western ambassador over there. This is crazy. This is crazy. The whole situation's crazy that they've destroyed. It's not so much a sovereign nation, isn't it? It's still crazy that people can't see who created the H people and what function that they serve. If you create a warrior government and then you turn your defences off on your border for 2 hours and let that warrior government walk over it, half of them are just paid mercenaries from Africa, and you've given them a certain plan and you've given them their 20 quid for the day and said, right, do this, this and this. On top of that, you've got a ultra-violent defence force who've got a policy, an actual policy of, if stuff kicks off, destroy them all. Our people as well. Destroy them all, right? That's... I can't tell you the name of that policy because that would allude to the people I'm talking about, but I think you got it. How can people not see who's controlling that narrative? Crazy. It's crazy. But Tony's got his institute there, hasn't he? The Tony Blair Institute. What have I highlighted here? Tony has spent years studying the region's history and, yes, the complexities, and has got to know most of its leaders. He is one of the few international figures to be respected by both sides. Are we having a giraffe? Let's be honest. Is he really respected by Arab leaders after what? I don't need to say anymore, do I? But do you remember what I just said about a certain group and who created them purposely so that the land over there is divided into two, isn't it? There's two main groups. I've been fortunate to visit twice. I suggest you do. Maybe not this one at the moment. A little bit dangerous, isn't it? But if you've got a nation that has two governances, it can't be considered a country under the UN, and therefore I'm assuming doesn't come under the UN protectorate or protection, that UN troops can go in. So there's another reason why who would create this, who would create that government. And you can just tell by the terminology of the mainstream media. Gaza's predicament is a terrible one. It has been under the control of a certain group. And look at the way they describe them. A murderous, anti-Semitic death cult responsible for the worst pogrom since the Second World War. Yeah, there's a lot to unpick in that, folks. I'm not going to do it now, but some of you know what I mean. It's definitely worth learning proper history, folks, not Hollywood history. And then you see when you're being played with. This is a photo from Tony's Institute. Just says it all, doesn't it? They want you to believe this bullshit. In reality, if that's an office, you got bloody Nigel over here. He's led a boring life, He's pressure from his father to do well at school. Ended up going through uni in a subject he didn't really want to do. Ended up somehow in the Tony Blair Institute. He likes dressing up in women's clothes on a Thursday because, he needs an outlet for all his trauma. He's just done a deal that's probably denied Mozambique aid for the next year, and he's quite chuffed with that because he's going to get the next promotion. Nigel here hates bloody Theresa because Nigel's a closet racist. Teresa's just like happy to have a job, and yada yada yada. Point I'm getting at is just working in an office. I don't think it's that hilarious, having done it for many years. Teresa there would have been backstabbing you to the boss and running to him every time you told a joke that she perceived might be a bit sexist or something. Yes, I think this is gaslighting at its finest, isn't it? And how many offices, seriously, have you worked in that had a plant on the table? Yes. Okay, moving swiftly on. This is Tony's buddy, isn't it? This is Larry Ellison, who at one time was richer than Elon Musk. He's a guy that's pulling the strings from the background. He's a billionaire, one of the world's richest men. He's 81 years old, and he's worth 400 billion. He's worth 400 billion, and he works with the likes of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla. Again, there's NVIDIA that makes the cards for the computer. Video cards, that is. So you got a guy worth 400 billion who's best mates with Tony Blair. Tony Blair's son allegedly owns the company that's pushing out the digital IDs, or that wanted to. That's if you believe, in conjunction with Palantir. Do you remember we spoke about them at the beginning? Massive data mining operation and data control, and using that data to run things like the British Armed Forces. Folks, can I just say, sorry, I haven't mentioned it, could you like and subscribe? Or this is going to be another 6 hours of my life and we literally get no subscribers. If you can like and subscribe, folks, click the notification bell. That'd be awesome. So Tony here, working in conjunction with his son's failed company. His son's company failed to turn a profit for since 2016. So his lads run with this company that's made losses of 40 million every year, and suddenly it pops up when digital IDs are mentioned in conjunction with partnership with Palantir, and Tony's pushing it along with his mate who's worth 400 billion. It's an interesting future, isn't it? Someone asked me if I would look up, I think it was Gideon. There's a lot of stuff going. I'm just going to whip through this, folks. There's a lot of security apparatus being rolled out as well. A lot of it coming from Israel. The name Gideon was mentioned. So Gideon in scripture, he was a chap that went up against, was it the Midianites or whatever they're called? We'll come and look at that. And he was famous for carrying a sword, and his lads carried a clay jar with a light in it, and they were armed only with trumpets. You're not going to hear this in church, folks. The allegory there is, if you want to bring down your enemy, you do it through energy, vibration, and frequency, hence the sound that comes from the trumpet. As such, when you raise your energy and your vibration, you shatter the jar, which represents your ego material self, and in the jar there was a light. that's not rocket science to work out, is it? And Gideon, who led these men, he actually led them to a river, and all the ones that bent down and lapped from the water with their mouths, he sent home. All the ones that stood up alert and drank from the water with their hands, he took with them on the mission. And that's allegory for those that are blissfully unaware that this is a spiritual battle run on energy, vibration and frequency. Totter off, son. You're going to be no good to anyone. Well, I can think of a few individuals that would like you to follow them. He wanted the ones that get this, that realise this is an energy battle. It's a battle between good and evil. I don't think you ever can win it, folks, but I think you have to learn to manage it. As they said in Star Wars, you have to develop the Force, don't you? So what do we got here? Washington, secret contract. So this is all to do with hacking tools, spyware, etc., etc. I'll probably save this for another day, folks. I just wanted to highlight the fact that Biden, in fact, let's just go through it. Secret contract was finalized November 2021. A deal between a company that has acted for a front for the USA government and an American affiliate of a notorious Israeli hacking firm. The Israeli firm was NSO. And they came up with these covert tools that could track mobile phones around the world, and they were selling that technology to governments and the like. And by selling the technology to governments, so for example, when I led the Global Veterans Alliance during the scam, the medical scam, they could have just gone to Israel, to this company, NSO, bought the contract for this technology. I'm talking about MI6 now. And the next thing you know, it's on my phone. My phone's only just stopped making weird noises since all that stuff, honestly. So let's have a look at the logo. The logo of this Israeli company. Could it be linked to a certain planet in our solar system, do you think? Could it be, let's think about this. Blackrock, black cube. Could it be a black square? Boom! Quite predictable, aren't they? Look, in case you're wondering, this is the N. This is the S in the black cube. It's not a square, folks. It represents a cube, doesn't it? The black cube of Saturn. And there's your O. So again, back to the cult of Saturn, folks, which this lot seem to love and live by. Saturn's referred to as other names, isn't he? Kronos, I think, was his Greek name. Also relates to Baal back in the day. Baal was the one that you sacrificed your children to, and all that kind of thing. So no surprise there. It's sorry, just bear with me. Yeah, the tool's called Pegasus. I've chatted with MI5 agents on the show, haven't I? And they asked the people that I've spoken to in security don't want to talk about this. They certainly don't want to talk about it publicly. They're happy to in private, but you've got this tool Pegasus that can extract all the contents of a mobile phone, from emails to photos to videos. All this technology, whether it's coming out of Taiwan or wherever, all has this backdoor software in, I would imagine. Remember, Blackrock own all these companies, so they're just saying, right, when you design that, put a backdoor program in it. So the day that phone ends up in the hands of someone like Tony, maybe someone called Tony happens to like frequenting, men's toilets, and he's got emails and the like and photos on his phone, then the cult of Saturn just go, right, give us the dirt on this guy. Boom, instant download of everything on his phone. So yeah, anyway, I'm just going to move on, folks. This is Gideon Defences. This is another company with the name Gideon. This is another company with the name Gideon. Aaron Cohen, won't surprise you which country Aaron comes from. He's got his own AI platform, Threat Prediction, and he's off the back of the Charlie Kirk situation, pushing his or touting for business. There's the infamous 11-11-11, isn't it? The 33, the 47, 47, and 47.
I don't know if this was a professional hit. I can tell you that the shooter was proficient. We'll find out more in the investigation. What I can tell you is that the security for this event is not multi-layered. It's soft. There were no bag checks. Thousands of people in that crowd. The fact that somebody can get in there with a weapon and get on top of a roof tells me everything I need to know, which is that Charlie did not have the insulation that was required.
So completely going along with the official narrative, this is an Israeli chap.
His immediate protective detail, which I'm sure these are very professional guys. I saw the footage of them jumping on him within seconds after the shot, trying to cotter that thing, getting him into that vehicle. All very, very professional. But the fact is that you can get into a Charlie Kirk event tells me this. We are now in a radicalization war.
What a load of shit. We're now in a war that's stirred up by a cult, mate, that you work for. Some people would say.
Frame this as domestic terror. This is the new face of terrorism.
This is the new phase. It was... hang on, is this one the war on drugs? Or is this the weapons of mass destruction ones that don't exist? Oh, hang on, no, this could be the brutal dictator one, couldn't it? Is it... Oh, no, hang on. Should we explore killing Granny? If you don't buy his software, you're killing your nan and mine.
In America, they killed Charlie Kirk because of what he says, what he stands for, and what he believes. And
what he said about your lot, mate, wasn't it? Really? Come on, let's be honest. If anything at all.
Radicalization pipeline is happening online, and it's getting fed into everybody's cell phone, and any one of those kids could have taken a shot at that.
The trouble is, when you look into these events, folks, I strongly suggest you do. There's some absolutely wicked videos on some of these events when things go bang, 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 if you get what I'm saying, in kind of places where, little people go, those events, you'll be, if you're not aware of all, you're going to be horrified. You try putting in a freedom of information request to the local sheriff office for some of these events, you're not going to get that freedom of information. You're generally talking people that are suffering, kids, ADHD, some kind of disorder, with all their friends going they'd never hurt a fly. They just weren't like that. And yet we've got to believe that they carried several kilograms of, the bang bang stuff, that they were expertly proficient in all this, armory, and that they could go into a facility and bang, 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 and literally, using like 100 rounds, take out 80 people with kind of kill shots. Yes, I think there's very different, I think it's advisable to explore very different narratives when things go bang, let's say.
That kid, it didn't have to be from 75 or 200 yards or whatever the distance was.
Yep.
So my contention now is we have to wait for this thing to unfold. I think the FBI is going to tear this thing apart. Law enforcement is going to try and hunt this guy down within hours, and we'll know more at that point. But I will not be surprised, Trace, if there is a very extensive digital breadcrumb with this shooter, and we're going to find out.
They literally telling you, they gaslighting you what they want you to think, aren't they? It's exactly the same in a certain events in New York and Washington, where their chat was boom in the media. Within 20 minutes of something hitting something, he was there saying, oh, it's a chap in the Middle East who lives in a cave on a kidney dialysis machine, who hasn't even got a mobile phone or bank accounts. Hey ho. And here he is launching his Gideon.
About to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli grade on.
Right, I stopped that because it's not important. That's not important. What's important is you got a stooge there who's selling the idea that there's all these radicals with their bang bangs just getting radicalized on these campuses, and that if we don't get this next level of surveillance technology, we're going to expect a whole lot more of this. What he's not saying is, you know, that this surveillance has been brought in. Do you remember what I said at the beginning? This digital surveillance is being brought in by the back door, and that is how they're going to get you with the ID stuff. You know, yes, you can come to our college, Sonny, but we need your digital fingerprint. We you know, all the students here have accepted that. We need to know everything about you. The system's called Yidian, Widian, Forbidian, what that doesn't matter, but eventually all these systems will become one, won't they? It'll be, oh, Gideon's merging with this, and your healthcare's merging with this one, and suddenly all these different pots of stuff you signed up to so you could get in a nightclub and get your operation quicker is all sort of become one point of contact with your credit system, with your social credit on there, and your minimum wage, etc., etc. And it's all going on. Look, they're using the whole college campus thing. This is another Israeli startup developed by a former radar engineer of the Iron Dome. Iron Dome is Israel's protection from incoming missiles, isn't it? Except that apparently it doesn't work particularly well. And the Tel Aviv-based startup, Scannery, it's called, is a mass security human screening system led by Dr. Gideon Levita. I'm not trying to get at anything here, folks. I just typed in Gideon AI security, and these pages came up. I just thought I'd show you for the sake of showing you. And then we've got this other one, haven't we? They really think you're stupid. This is the attack on ICE, where the sniper ended up killing the immigrants. So ICE is America's illegal immigration unit and border kind of patrol. And this chap took a few out last week, didn't he? They said he was aiming for the ICE officers and actually ended up hitting the immigrants that were in their care. And isn't it amazing that 2 incidents within the space of a week, both of these kids decided to write stupid shit on their bullet casings? seriously, who's dumb enough to think that you're dumb enough to believe all this stuff? Just putting it out there. Here we go. 29-year-old Joshua Jan. One sec. J, the 10th letter of the alphabet. I'll just say that because that would be 11, wouldn't it? 11 being the master builder's number that's said to be used by the cult of Saturn. They employ this number 11. I won't cover it now, but we've covered it before. 29, 2 and a 9 is 11. Remember, this might sound stupid to you folks, and I don't waste my days with numbers, do I? Except perhaps when it's my birthday. But what's it say in Scripture? You know, you should know them by their symbols. His brother told NBC that his brother did not seem political. He said he last saw him 2 weeks ago and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. He didn't have strong feelings about ICE as far as I know. And we covered the rounds with the silly writing on it. This is great, folks. People are finally starting to wake up to the truth. I'm not saying what that truth is, but once you understand it, then you understand the nature of the massive lie. And it's so indoctrinated and brainwashed people through their false, science narrative, that I was chatting to someone the other day. I was actually chatting to a shaman. And the shaman said, "Oh, I'm not coming to see you at the moment, Chris. This is just like for a cup of tea, folks. I'm not having any shaman stuff done. I don't really know what they do, rituals and stuff, don't they, shamans?" He said, "No, I can't come see it at the minute. I'm not well. I caught it off Stan." I was like, "Oi, mate, stop that shit." And he went, "Oh shit, sorry." Do you see what I'm saying? We're so indoctrinated that our welfare is other people affect our welfare, that this is the one thing that we got to blow this out of the water, friends. We've got to stop believing in this. This is what's keeping people in a low frequency, is not understanding how your body works, that you've got a pH balance. If you fuck with that balance, you get unwell. If you maintain 7.25 to 7.45, you're going to have peak optimal health. You're never going to suffer like I haven't now since 2003. And the best way, there's a link below for these folks. Sorry, wrong button. Is I use Super Greens. This is not some kind of silly advert plug now, although it kind of is. This, you can buy it in a kilo pack. It's about 25, maybe 29 quid. That kilo, as a single person, would last you for about 3 months. So it's a tenner a month, essentially. What this does, it's highly concentrated green vegetables, and it compensates for your toxic, acidic carbohydrate diet. And it's that build-up of acid from the carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are high on the glycemic index. Glycemic index means glucose. Glucose is sugar. So when you eat your spuds and your pasta and your rice in this huge abundance, most of your plate, isn't it, is the carbohydrate. Then you have a little bit of vegetables on the side, and your meat. Whereas what Super Greens does is it's the equivalent of making your diet mainly vegetables, and that alkalizes your cells so your cells can start functioning and detoxing. When you're acidic, your body can't detox that acid, so you remain in a state of acidosis, just building acid, and then what happens is either your cell starts to malfunction because it loses its electromagnetic signal from source, from your DNA, so it doesn't know, how do I replicate? I can't, you fucked with the acid alkaline balance in this little, think of it like a battery, and now I can't communicate with source, so I've got to guess, how do I replicate? And I think I do it like this, and that's your tumor, isn't it? What Super Greens does is it maintains that pH balance in the proper way so that your cells can talk healthily, and that they can detox. This is why then I haven't come down with anything since 2003 when I first met Robert Young, of all people, who's an incredible gentleman. So again, folks, there's an Amazon link below. Get on it and join the hundreds of people that email me and say, Chris, I'm on the Super Greens, mate. I'm on it. And yes, I get it now. I get it. It's gonna raise your vibration, folks. That, if you can jog around the block, hot shower, cold shower, little bit of meditation in the afternoon or when you get stressed, be on good terms with all people. You've just chosen a path to enlightenment. It's literally that simple, It's literally that simple. So, yes. This is the thing now, isn't it? The whole thing about New York and Washington, it's all coming out, isn't it? Tucker Carlson's talking about it all the time. A lot of people thought this day would never come.
Then he caught himself. Well, not very good. It will generate immediate sympathy. On September 12th, in a CNN interview, Mr. Netanyahu said, quote, "It's not just bin Laden, it's not just a network, it's also the states that harbor and support them. Iraq, Iran, the Taliban in Afghanistan." A few days later, on September 16th, 2001, Vice President Cheney appeared on NBC News' Meet the Press, and he claimed, "We also have evidence that Saddam Hussein's been harboring terrorists, including Al-Qaeda."
Okay, won't dwell on that any longer, but what a surprise that a certain Polish pretender, you know the chap I mean, dictator of a certain small country, might or might not be in the Middle East. What a surprise that he was behind this massive atrocity, which they quite conveniently blamed one of them on one chap they blamed was a guy in a cave on a kidney dialysis machine, and the other was a chap who was alleged to have weapons of mass destruction. And I think the only weapons of mass destruction they found were television sets in people's houses over there, wasn't it? Just fascinating, folks. I think a lot of us didn't think we'd see the truth coming out in our lifetime. And just remember the cabal that was behind it. They call it politely the neocons. Gives it a kind of political veneer, doesn't it? But really, it was your Paul Wolfowitz, Larry Silverstein, Rumsfeld, Cheney being the president of Halliburton, although he technically stood down to become the vice president. And they had one of their boys within 20 minutes of that first building. They had one of their boys on telly going, "This is OBL." That chap, right? The truth always comes out, doesn't it? Truth always comes out. This chap here, he was a soldier on that day. He was at the Pentagon. Let's have a listen.
After action reports. And so we're not mentioned in the premier after action reports, so it doesn't surprise me that we're really not discussed in the 9/11 Commission report either.
So now you show up on site.
So the commission report, when it came to discussing building number 7, also known as the Salomon building, which was said to be the control location for the whole, the whole shebang. The commission report said, you got to remember that so building 7 was a skyscraper. It was one of the towers in the World Trade Center complex, and it just went without being hit by anything. And in the 9/11 Commission report said building 7 is of no consequence. This chap, he was sent to deal with the aftermath of the Pentagon, and now he's coming out with some of his buddies and saying we've been prevented from saying for years. Some of us signed non-disclosure agreements, some of us didn't, is there was nothing there. This notion of a plane, there was nothing there.
Now, there's famous video from CNN and others, but I believe the main video is from CNN, and I just want to play it here because this is the response of the reporter who's on site at the time. And he's being interviewed. I forget the name of Judy Woodruff, I think, was interviewing him at the time and asking, what did he see? And he says, he doesn't see any sign of there being an aircraft that hit the building. Watch.
Actually, it was Bob Franken with an eyewitness who said it appeared that Boeing 757, the American Airlines jet, landed short of the Pentagon. Can you give us any better idea of how much of the plane actually impacted the building?
It might have appeared that way, but from my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual site of the building that's crashed in, and as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere around, which would indicate that the entire plane crashed into the side of the Pentagon and then caused the side to collapse. Now,
there we go. Incidentally, the Salomon building that housed all the records for the Enron scandal, which was a huge scandal that defrauded millions, if not billions, I think, from shareholders. I might have got that a bit wrong. It was a long time ago. And of course, the day before this event happened, Donald Rumsfeld came out laughing as Secretary of Defense, and he said, we've lost $2.3 trillion from the Pentagon budget. It's gone. We don't know where it's gone. And of course, no one focused on it because the next morning, the biggest atrocity in US history, or one of the biggest atrocities, took place. And guess where? One sec. Guess which part of the Pentagon housed the records, the record keeping for this money? Boom, yes, you've got it. So you can't put the genie back in the bottle, can you? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. It makes you wonder where all this is going. So moving swiftly on. So here we go. Look, Rich here is saying we're not living in bloody biblical times, Andrew Bridgen. We're living in a time when these lunatics are playing out a fictional biblical narratives which are stolen from much older mythologies. So Rich is getting it there. And why these stories can you find them? Whichever scripture you look in, whether it's the, Bhagavad Gita, sorry, I've slaughtered that name, or, in Buddhist text or the Quran? Why all these stories have these incredible, similarities? Someone being burned to a Virgin Mother and all this kind of stuff, and that's what we're going to come on and look on to. This is just the insanity. Sorry, before we do the insanity, look, people are walking out of Netanyahu's UN speech, and quite rightly so. And meanwhile, last year, even after this event had begun, he's getting he was applauded 79 times and had 58 standing ovations. I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. This is how sick the system is, folks. Look, all these people absolutely gloating over this chap who's he's not good news. Anyone that takes scripture and says it's literal, is not good news. Right, in no particular order, I've been asked quite a few times, Rosh Hashanah, or the Judaic New Year, symbolically has 100 shofar blasts. So a shofar is your ram's horn. Why is that symbolic? What's the allegory in scripture? Well, the allegory is we went from the age of Taurus into the age of Aquarius. I think it's something like that. Oh, sorry, the age of Aries, which was back when the time period these scriptures are alleging to describe. And Moses comes down off his mountain, doesn't he? He's been up there meditating with God. Moses means pineal gland, folks. Mountain means, spirit, a place of spirit. So when you're meditating, you're said to be on the mountain. When you're planning, racing your next Ferrari and snorting coke, then you're said to be in the valley. Do you get it? There's material as above, so below. And of course, he comes down off the mountain, and the Israelites are worshipping a golden calf. That was said to be from the age of Taurus, whereas at that period in time they were in the age of Aries. Sorry, hence the ram's horn. But this is what does it relate to in scripture? Let me just see. Sorry, folks, my tabs are just taking ages to come online. So we talked about the story of Gideon, didn't we? And the 300 men. So Gideon had his 300 men, and they all had their horns. We looked at the symbology within it. Bear with me. Got to see what's in this tab. So for this whole messianic thing, the Zionists believe that for the return, if they complete these 6 phases, then their Messiah will return. So return of the Jewish people to Israel. So this falls down, folks, because Israel, as you know, Israel is feminine energy, Ra masculine energy, Elohim is like Holy Spirit or the gods. It's basically saying when you get your pineal and your pituitary gland firing, you connect with this, you like Wi-Fi. You actually connect with your source. You actually start living your life and going, right, this is what it's about. It's never meant to be a place, physically not a place. So an Israelite is a reference to an enlightened thought, right? A Gentile is just allegory for unenlightened thought. So, if you get someone who walks out of their house in the morning, all they want to do is score some coke, sell it to the kids on the street corner, and then jump in their Ferrari, what do you think they are? Do you think they're an Israelite or a Gentile? Of course, their thought is materialistic, isn't it? It's lower self. So they are bondage to their Egypt. Egypt just represents slavery to the self and the five senses. Whereas the Israelite is an enlightened thought. You cross the Red Sea. Red, said this a lot, symbolic of love or emotion. And sea, water, stands for elevated consciousness. So it's just saying that when we get over our five senses and stop reacting with emotion to the world and actually learn to tune into the divine, which we do through fasting, meditation, you can do it through exercise, diet, all these things, you become a different biochemical being, don't you? Nobody ever regrets going for a run. No one ever regrets going to the gym. You always feel closer to God when you've done that shit, don't you? God, insert your word, whatever you like, divine, universe, what. Let's not get hung up on. It's not about religion, folks, right? And this is the allegory there. It was never a place in the Middle East. The tribe of Judah, which just forms one faction of the Israelites, they camped on the east, didn't they? They camped on the east where you have the rising sun. The light rises on the east. The allegory is going east of Eden, is to the right hemisphere of the brain. It means enlightened people live in the right hemisphere of the brain. Unenlightened people live in their left brain programming, where they go and have their 37th booster and then make war on a guy because he's got weapons of mass destruction. They only have the faux rationale that comes from matrix programming. They haven't made that connection and gone east of Eden by firing off their pituitary and their pineal glands and accessing the right hemisphere of the brain. So my point is, you can write off that fucking nonsense for a start, folks. That never happened, all right? This just means enlightened thought. That's all it means, enlightened thought. That, again, if that never happened, then that can never happen, can it? This ain't no Messiah coming, because who's the Messiah? Messiah's your pineal gland, isn't it? In the Old Testament, you had Moses represented the pineal gland. In the New Testament, you've got Jesus represents the pineal gland. It's allegory, folks. Scripture is allegory. It's not a history book. It's not a it's not a history book. There might be some parallels in there, but it can't be both. I said this the other day. When you're in a taxi in Israel, the driver will tap you on the shoulder and he'll point out all these historic sites. He'll go, over there, that's where David fought Goliath. And you're going, David fighting Goliath. David, the small man, is symbolic of love. Goliath is the big man. He represents your ego. You overcome your ego by bypassing the five senses. That's why David picks up 5 pebbles, and you enlighten yourself by firing off your pineal. And where does David, the love, hit the ego? Hits him in the pineal gland, doesn't it? That's all it is. It's just an allegory for enlightenment. You cannot have it. You can't have your cake and eat it, folks. It cannot also be a historical tale that actually was true. Do you see what I'm saying? That would be the odds of that happening would be like 97 trillion billion to one. That actually was a guy called David, yeah, right? And what it was, he picked up, and there was this like huge giant guy, and then David went on to become king of that. So you got all this, and then number 5 here. Look, red heifer sacrifice. Sacrificing the red heifer, you get an unblemished animal that hasn't yet had a child or whatever, and it's red. What did we say? Red stands for emotion, doesn't it? It's the heifer. It stands for your firstborn. So you sacrifice your firstborn emotion in order to become born again, which just means enlightened. You've got to rid yourself of this matrix programming that tells you everything is in your 5 senses, and that you deal with things based on your emotions, and you get angry and you get happy, and you got to learn that in order the conduit to the divine, you got to bypass all that. That's just physical human apparatus, isn't it? And in allegory, it's just represented by a red heifer. Sacrifice your red heifer doesn't mean go and get a poor innocent animal that's done nothing to no one and literally do that to it in front of a baying, a cheering audience. Nothing to do with it. It just means overcoming your firstborn self, which is one of ego, pride, symbolism. So again, this is the nonsense that we're all living under. There's Gideon. Look, they name people after this warrior leader. They don't understand. Why is he? Can you see he's got a double-edged sword? Why has he got a double-edged sword? It's allegory for the spoken word, because the spoken word can be double-edged, can't it? It can put you into heaven or it can put you into hell. What you say about other people is representative of where you are, not where they are. I say this a lot it's where you've got to be careful in the comment section. When you find yourself writing something horrible to a complete stranger, that's the time you got to go, this is my double-edged sword, isn't it? Because if I write this, what am I saying? I'm letting the whole world know that I've got unhealed childhood trauma that I probably don't even realise, and I've never made efforts to get over, because, daddy didn't love me, or mummy was a bit hard when she hit me with a cooking pan. And I'm in pain, therefore I'm projecting that pain onto other people, thinking that I'm going to get a result. And let's be honest, I'm 42 years old, hating people on the internet. It's not really an achievement, is it? That's what the sword represents, that language is twofold. They've got these shofars, the ram's horns. That's symbolic of energy, vibration, and frequency, because you bring down your enemy, who in this text is like the 7 tribes of the Ammonites or something, by awakening your 7 endocrine centers in your body. And they release your nice chemicals, your serotonin and your DMT, and you experience this blissful experience of being close to God, or not being close to God, being a manifestation of the divine. You can see around their feet they got these broken vessels. This represents the shattered ego, that they've all escaped their ego, and they've taken these flaming torches out, which were held in the jars. That's it. It's really quite simple. When you get on that wavelength, it's quite simple. It's like those pictures those pictures that we used to have of all the dots, and one person looks at it and they're seeing like an alien and a spaceship and all that, and another person looks at it and they're like, I I don't get it. I don't get it. I can't see nothing. It's like, yeah, you got to tune this stuff in, and you do it by cracking the allegory in the scripture and making simple life changes, you know. There you go. Dun, dun, dun. So, and this is interesting when you get the numbers in scripture. So this here is talking about the rebuilding of the temple. They believe when they get the third temple built in Jerusalem, the new Messiah is going to appear. And this is all in Ezekiel. But when you look at it from an enlightened position and you start hearing the word cubits, a cubit is 18 inches. So those of you that have done the numerology instantaneously, because you're getting this now, what's 18 in numerology? It's 9, isn't it? 9, the number of human consciousness. So this isn't about a temple building. This is a reference to building the third temple here. Because what's inside your temple, if you look over there on my shelf, that's Horus. No, I haven't gone all like Babylonian satanic, folks. That's an actual skull that you can take apart and you can see all the inner workings. And inside your temple, you've got some interesting stuff. You've got your pineal gland and you've got your pituitary. So your pineal is here. It connects with the divine. This is your antenna for decoding the photons, which is packets of information from source, come in a form of photons of light, because everything is light condensed into matter. And these photons come at you as an angle, don't they? They come at you as an angle, as an angel of the Lord, or aka the sun. And what the pineal does is it between your pineal and your pituitary, they decode this higher frequency, and then you operate then in a different way than you did the day before, because your pituitary gland controls your tree of life, your nervous system. And so you're decoding information from source, and your pituitary gland, which sits in there, it's made a covenant with God, right? Your covenant with God is how you decide to live. So Moses goes up. This is where the story phases between allegory and the symbolic. Moses is symbolic of the pineal. But in the story, the chap Moses goes on a mountain, so he goes up high to get close and meditate with the divine to get his photons. And he comes up with these stone tablets, doesn't he? The stone tablets are carried around in the Ark of the Covenant. This is like your Steven Spielberg film, isn't it? Where they actually want you to believe it's a stolen treasure and the Nazis have got it. Do you see how they bastardize all this to brainwash you? No, it's in there. It's the seat in which your pituitary gland sits in. That's your Ark of the Covenant. And it's measured in cubits. The cubits are 18 inches long, and the 1 and the 8 is 9. And the covenant that you make with the divine is how you live your life, isn't it? So some people make a covenant that they're not going to drink alcohol, for example. And they make that covenant because what they realize is when you do that, you get a short-term pleasure, but you get an actual long-term pain that puts you out for days. It stops you going to the gym, means that you watch crap TV and eat pizza, so your weight goes up. Means that you have to struggle through the next couple of days at work, really just, pushing everything to one side. And so people make that covenant. Other people realize that, whatever it might be a sex addiction or something, that's probably not too good. Other people make a covenant with God that, look, I'm going to go and exercise every day because this is my thing. Other people make the covenant that, look, I'm going to be on good terms with all people. Some people make the covenant, I'm going to be an internet troll and I'm going to put my childhood trauma over everyone. Or I'm not just happy to have 26 Ferraris. I want 26 Ferraris, a flat in Dubai. I want money coming out my ears. I'm going to destroy the planet in order to get it. That's their covenant. But only one of them covenants that you make allows you to go east of Eden and become access the reality of the divine manifestation that you are. And yes, this is sounding complicated. I'm a thick ex-Marine, guys, and I've had to work all this out, So yes, very clever stuff. Clever stuff. So yes, so when you got your Rosh Hashanah and your blowing of the shofar, I wouldn't read too much into it. Here's a decode here. I just asked AI folks through Grok just to decode Gideon, the passage about Gideon. Look, everyone that lappeth the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth, were 300 men. By the 300 men that lapped, I will save you. Decode. The selection of the 300 men who lap water like dogs represents those who are spiritually alert and disciplined. This is AI getting it a bit wrong here, folks. Water symbolizes truth and spiritual knowledge. This is why in Scripture you always cross water. Jesus walked on water. You cross the Red Sea. Moses taps his staff on the rock, which is carbon, isn't it? 666. And he enlightens by water coming out of the rock. Spiritual knowledge. Lapping water with hands to mouth rather than kneeling signifies mindfulness and readiness, reflecting a higher state of awareness. The number 3 is symbolic in gematria. 300 relates to the letter Shin, associated with divine fire or spirit. So you've got Earth, carbon, 666 is the molecular structure of carbon. Earth, water is your elevated consciousness. Earth, water, air is the next stage up. Fire is like you're firing now. And then ether, isn't it? Ether is your quantum field on which everything is painted or created. So Shin here is the divine fire or spirit. These 300 represent the purified thoughts or spiritual faculties chosen for the inner battle. Empty pitchers with lamps and blowing trumpets breaks the pitchers. I don't know how you spell break like that, but AI seems to have done it. And the lamp was seen. The water pitchers symbolize the ego, which must be broken to reveal the inner lamps, letting the inner light shine and disrupting the illusion of the material world. So the Midianite camp represents the material world, and so on and so forth. So when you hear reference to the 7 seals, folks, this isn't like a doomsday apocalyptic scenario. It's just you've got 7 seals up your spine, and each seal represents an area controlled by your endocrine glands, an energy field. And when you fire off the 7 through your spiritual practices, what do? you take the day off, don't you? Because you've done it. You know, you've done the work. That's why 7, Sabbath, cult of Saturn, represents the day of rest. Right. So that's Exodus, folks. So you've got a whole country that's now smashing another country based on a misunderstanding of, or excuse my French, a bastardization of Scripture. Exodus just represents awakening consciousness from earth, which is fear, what most people live in, to water, which is truth, crossing your Red Sea. Air is when you learn no thought, because you've got oneness. So you become a conduit for the divine rather than a blocker. Spirit, represented by fire. Remember, Moses saw the burning bush. And then transcendent unity, that's your ether. That's a state I actually got to in a podcast with one of Taiwan's biggest Western actors yesterday. He went right off. I had to call him back because we just did a little bit of meditation, and bang, he found what he'd spent an awful lot of money looking for, just having a chat with me. I talked him through it. You know, stop thinking, stop looking for it. You're not going to, if you go and look for it, was it Jesus said, if you look for it in the birds, you'll think it's there. If you look for it in the ground, you'll think, no, it's inside you. And you just got to peel off the bullshit, open your mind, start being nice to people, get alkaline, and bang, there you are. You're in the promised land. But how many people will do it?
Most people think the Twin Towers collapsed simply because the planes sliced through them.
So,
but the truth...
I won't play this, but this is another thing about the events in New York and Washington. This is a massive gaslighting video. Don't ask me why they put it out, but it's just saying the old, you know, aviation fuel can melt steel beams kind of nonsense. You've got to remember these buildings, folks. The Empire State Building got hit by a bomber, right? An American bomber plane. And 3 floors up, they didn't even know it had happened, right? This is how these buildings are constructed. With the Twin Towers, do you think they didn't factor in that if something crashes into this building, it might have fuel on board? And what's heartening here is when you look at the comments, and look, no one is buying it anymore. Nobody is buying it. If you'd have done this 20 years ago, back when we all our antennas started to prick up, when we was all being called conspiracy theorists and all this, you know, everyone thought you was mad, which is fine because they're in the matrix. You're connecting to the divine. It's fine, right? But look, okay, now explain number 7. Everything. Most people think the towers have been demolished by bombs. This is a different comment here. Someone said here, look, who's going to tell them? You know, there's a reference to all the people still believe in like their official television narrative. This one's talking about the explosives that were found in the rubble. This guy's pointing out that jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough. I never knew the average population was this damn foolish, where it's believable 2 skyscrapers can both crumble to dust at free fall speed with no resistance. Of course, he's forgetting, isn't it? It was 3 skyscrapers. So, yes, I thought that was a bit heartening. This is another thing that's heartening. That a lot of people now are talking about a certain thing, aren't they? You know, certain conditions out there, certain procedures. I'm treading a bit carefully here, folks, for obvious reasons. I don't want to have to say goodbye to you early, but isn't it wonderful now, people? It's now okay to talk about this and to say, hey, no, My little one was fine before that fucking bullshit, and now, you know, they're damaged for life. And I know a lot of you have got a dog in this fight. I get it, folks, you know. I genuinely get it. This is a divine creation. You are miraculous that you've come this far through history. You are a miracle of evolution to fucking be here, whatever that evolution form takes. Your ancestors come through scarcity and ice ages and everything to get you here. You don't in 2022 need to suddenly forget all that and go to Babylonian psychopathic money monsters for your welfare, right? And if you do, if you mess with the divine, your beautiful DNA, which is we've already assessed, can actually take light and decode information in it, which none of this lot are ever going to tell you, right? The argument there is you could be massively deluded, friends, you know? And if you believe in rhetoric, if you believe in, oh, well, they cured so-and-so, Chris. Yeah, they also had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I also responsible for killing your granny. Also, there was a brutal dictator. You know, also milk's good for you. You know, do I need to go on? So there we go. Got a few more tabs to go here, folks. Let me just click them to get them all burning. What we got here, yeah, Richard Gage has done a lot. Richard's come under a criticism, hasn't he? Because he doesn't ever discuss the directed energy weapon, which many people believe was used on that day, in addition to whatever else went down. But this is three firefighters that have come out and they're saying what they saw on that day, and it doesn't tie with the official narrative. This is talking about the insider trading. So if this was a guy in a cave, how come all the big money makers on the planet, and let's be honest, folks, the big money makers on this planet, they're not the Muslims, are they? They're. I mean, I'm not saying there's not some very rich Arabs, but let's just play it. He's suggesting they have prior knowledge, is what I'm trying to say.
Into whether someone or many people benefited financially from the evil done to the country last Tuesday. Not long before the attacks occurred, there were some financial transactions in the stock market that may indicate knowledge of the attack before it began. ABC's Antonio Mora is here. Whether they ever get to, if they ever get to the bottom of it, it will be astonishing.
Astonishing, no question, Peter. What many Wall Street analysts believe is that the terrorists made bets that a number...
Fuck off. Do you see the immediate plant, folks? Who do you think this chap's working for? Who do you think, which club do you think he's in? I'll give you a clue, it ain't your one. What they're doing there is they've realised they've now got to explain how people made billions on the stock market that day by betting that those buildings would come down and that it would be blamed, it would be blamed on airliners flown from a company called American Airlines. So they put options on these companies. A put option is when you bet this stock is going to collapse. And as a result, you profit that way. So clearly what they're saying is people knew that this was going to happen. And what the focus of this news piece is to explain away, to give plausible denial as to how it could have happened. And so what are they doing? They're blaming it on the people, you know, the 19 guys with the box cutters, saying that, you know, their bosses all knew this, so they've put bets on the stock market. Yes, I think their gaslighting days are over, folks. Do you? I just don't think this works anymore, you know. You're allowed to think what you like, folks. If you want to hate people, that I don't suggest you do, But I'm saying you have a right to. No one's allowed to tell you that that's illegal, or you're not allowed to, have free thinking. This is, again, look.
Executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances.
Okay, so in the president's recent speech, just before matey boy Peter Hegseth talked about let's bolster our military again, let's get rid of all this woke nonsense, which we suggested could be a worrying indication of actually we might need you to fight a war for resources, for the AI centers, which take a huge amount of energy. Then the Donald comes out and he's talking about he signed off a bill to say that they're going to put a domestic, in fact, how did he describe it? Let's have a
quick reaction force.
A quick reaction force to react to uprisings, can you say? Yeah. Interesting times, folks. The gaslighter of all gaslighters about to twist scripture into reality.
Since October 7th, Israel...
Yeah, who was behind that? Who was behind that date, mate? Come on, let's be honest.
Enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price. But those who partner with us...
Yeah, because all those children you bombed to death, they really deserved it, Bibby, didn't they?
Advance progress and security for their peoples.
Do you see, with the cabal, folks, everything they say, you just got to twist it. This isn't advanced anything. This is taking things back to the Stone Age.
President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed.
That is nothing to do, Bibby, with your country or your allies. Those that bless you will be blessed, and those that curse you will be cursed, is an allegory for enlightened thought, isn't it? You know, your thoughts, your enlightened thought will get you into the land of milk and honey, the promised land, aka serotonin and DMT, and your unenlightened thought, your Gentiles, those that go against you, will get you into hell on earth. Nothing to do with a history story.
And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings.
Can't watch it anymore. Right, almost there, my lovelies. Dun, dun, dun. This is an interesting one. This is the 100% tariff that Donald Trump has placed on films, what our American brothers and sisters call movies. He's placed 100% tariff on the importation of films from companies outside the USA. So now, Americans, you're just lumbered with the likes of Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. And guess what films you're going to get? Are they going to replay the Second World War narrative again for the 450 billion million zillionth time? Those pesky, horrible German people that we should all hate, even though it was like 70 80 years ago. For fuck's sake, what should we just leave them Germans alone now? Because when you do your bit of research, when you get into your David Irvine and you read the real history around that conflict, you get a very different story, don't you? So this is dangerous news. I think it means we're going to be getting more of this, are we not?
I'm gonna hit something. I'm gonna hit something right now. You gotta be careful, church, that we're not operating in Mystery Babylon. What is Mystery Babylon? It's hidden iniquity. It's hidden
Mystery Babylon.
sin. It's hidden stuff that you can't see. It's stuff that we cover up. I'm not hearing nobody say nothing.
That was the tree representative of the forbidden fruit. There we go. Seen enough, haven't we? I know this is a music industry, but music industry and Hollywood are birds of a feather, are they not? So yeah, just if America's just making films for America, you just got more of this, more Second World War indoctrination. Why this mass indoctrination from these huge Israeli-backed, Jewish-owned film companies? Because you've got to support the notion of Israel, haven't you? The Rothschilds' fiefdom, created off the back of the Rothschilds boy in Parliament in the UK, and used as a front company for the New World Order, essentially, or a facade. Basically them bulldozing their way, their shop, if you like, in the Middle East. And look how that's ended up. And what is it? Iran next. Of all kinds of atrocities going on in Syria with Christians and all of it, all these faux armies that pop up like ISIS. All of it funded and orchestrated, folks, by the same people. How do I know? I know that because people are nice. No one wants war. You don't want to go to war this morning, do you? I don't. I'm just going to have a cup of tea. Be nice to people. Everywhere I've travelled on the planet, people have been absolutely wonderful to me. Didn't want to go. I've been to Russia. They was great. I've met Ukrainians. They was absolutely wonderful. Met beautiful Americans everywhere I've been. So you've got to ask yourself, what's this tool, this strategy they use to maintain this perpetual state of war? And it's divide and rule, isn't it? And it's agitate, divide, rule, agitate. And as David says, David Icke that is, provide the solution. Keep everybody in their lower vibrational state, being those haters, those keyboard warriors. Yeah, bomb them, bomb the children, chuck in some, white phosphor gas on them. And you can see how absolutely insane this situation is that, that we've ended up with. Right, I'll just come on to the chat. Folks, can I just play you this video and ask you to chuck in a $5 for my upcoming Everest Summit? Don't forget the Super Greens. My books, there's a link below. The Super Greens, there's a link below. Many of you say, Chris, how can I help you? The best way is to join our Legends Club by becoming a YouTube member, signing up to my Patreon, or supporting us on our free speech platform, which is Locals, or you can support me on Buy Me a Coffee. You can do this one-off, folks, or you can do it monthly. You get VIP tickets to my annual events. So we got our Christmas party coming up. You get your name in the video credits, podcast credits. You get a monthly Zoom meeting. What I get a lot, folks, I get a lot of emails from people who say, Chris, I'm going through this in my life at the minute, and this and this. Could you give us a quick bell? I think it comes as a surprise to a lot of people that I've actually got a life and that I do all of what you're seeing essentially for free. I've never put in a positive bank tax return, folks. My tax return is always zero. One year it's £12,000 in the red. So I don't really have the time, on top of doing videos for 6 hours a day for you, to then give you free life coaching for a couple of hours. I hope you understand that. What I would suggest though, join our freaking Legends Club. Then we can meet every month for an hour. We can look at situations that's going on. You can explain what's happening. I can tell you what to do. Yes, your son's on the coke. His missus ain't that helpful. She's enabling his habit. There's children involved. I can tell you all about that because I'm fully qualified in that area. Got a degree in youth and community work. I'm a qualified substance misuse specialist, yada, yada, yada. But I can't be phoning people in my family time, folks, can I? I think I do enough. So join the club, folks. Join the Legends Club. And if you can watch this video, then I'll come to the chat.
Morning, legends. I'm Chris THRALL. I'm a former Royal Marines commando. Upon leaving the forces, ended up chronically mentally unwell, self-medicating, undiagnosed trauma, and homeless on the streets of Hong Kong. It was the toughest battle I ever had to fight, but without the support of the medical community, without self-help groups, I learned the answers to rebuild my life. Go on to complete a series of extreme charity challenges to send a vital message out there for other veterans who are struggling. I've run the length of the United Kingdom, run across the Sahara Desert, rode across the Atlantic Ocean. Now I'm taking on my biggest challenge yet, climbing Mount Everest. If you can support me, friends, and continue to shine a light for our struggling veterans and let them know that it is life after PTSD, I'll put a link below. Can spare a fiver? That's absolutely fine. And let's give our veterans the respect that they deserve. Much love.
Yes, just wanted to say massive thank you for everyone that's chipped in a fiver on the GoFundMe, folks. You absolute legends. I will say a prayer for you from the top of Mount Everest in April. And yeah, let's start talking about childhood trauma and how it affects people in later life. Because in the military, they're hiding it, folks. You know, they're telling you that the reason we lose so many veterans to suicide a year is just because of what they saw in theatre. And yeah, what they saw in theatre, probably quite unpleasant, but all of that you can get over as an adult. What you can't get over is childhood trauma, because it gets buried so deeply, some would say even in your body, because your brain is underdeveloped as a toddler. So any abuses that you suffer, they get buried, which is why you then have to just develop coping strategies in later life. It's quite difficult to kind of eviscerate it, if that's the right word, you know, get rid of it totally. And then when you leave the forces, of course you're falling on your ass. Of course you're self-medicating, because not only have you got this childhood trauma, which gives you an inability to cope with real life, because your stress, you know, your flight, fight or freeze mechanism keeps coming to the surface. You keep burying it with alcohol or bad behaviours. Of course it's not going to end well. Chuck on top of that some unpleasant war experiences, and, you know, life is cruel. You know, you don't get to my age, I don't think, without seeing a few dead bodies, do you not? Then it's not a nice mix. So we need to start talking about that. Right. Okay. Dun dun dun. Let's have a look. Yes, thank you for all your support of the channel recently. Really appreciated. Yeah, you've got to kind of let this develop your strategies, folks, to not react to this negativity, especially in this social media kind of led world. Keeping your pendulum down the middle so it doesn't swing too far. That's your spiritual battle, isn't it? That's your spiritual battle. Keep your conduit to the divine. You're welcome, mate. Gary, thank you so much for joining the Legends Club. I look forward to seeing you. Our meeting is next Tuesday, folks. If you want to meet up for a Zoom chat, we'll put the world to rights Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I'll put the link in YouTube memberships, all right, and Patreon and locals, etc. Look forward to seeing you then, Gary. I'm just a divine manifestation, aren't I? I'm not in anything, and if I was, that would be ego, wouldn't it? I'm just doing I'm just putting across the stuff that God has put into me, basically, because I think it could help you, and also it helps you to understand what's going on, because there's a lot of people out there that they mean well, but they don't understand, do they? They don't understand this stuff. There we go. Someone's been doing their reading. So why would they let a book which tells you about the New World Order, why would they let that be published? Why do we think? Come on, let's look a bit deeper. So first of all, who owns all the publishing companies, folks, that are at 33, King Street in New York? Who do we think owns these publishing companies? Secondly, now that we worked out who owns them, which kind of books do you think they're publishing? Do you think they want you to know everything in the world, or do you think they want you to have a selected amount of information? And do you think a significant part of that information is stuff that keeps you in a low vibrational energy state? So Stephen King, for example, $300,000 advance. That was 40 years ago. It was a lot of money. J.K. Rowling also writes about the occult, doesn't she? World's #1 best-selling author. So now we can see what the function of the publishing industry is. Yes, they chuck in some nice cooking books and some photos with wonderful photos and all this kind of stuff. 1984. Eric Blair, aka George Orwell, took his name from George the King and the River Orwell. He wrote this book. He's basically telling people the future that we found ourselves living in, isn't he? Where you have the Ministry of Truth that actually tells you what you can and can't say. You have a population that go outside and they bang pots and pans for 3 minutes on an evening, which is exactly what we saw during the scam, wasn't it? The 3 minutes of hate, they call it, in 1984. So why would you have this book that's basically telling why would you have? Because it doesn't give you the antidote, does it? It doesn't tell you how not to end up living in that slavery. And what's the antidote? We've talked about it, haven't we? Energy, vibration, frequency. It's your Tesla. It's understanding how these mental heads are controlling you by keeping you in a low vibrational and energy state, keeping your brain divided through their left and right politics, left wing, right wing, the birds in the cage, all the same system, right? They're not telling you to practice. If you practice alkaline diet, which is 7.25, you get your body really buzzing with those electrolytes, tuned into the higher frequency, not hating on people. Doing your moderate exercise daily to get back to your animal state. They don't tell you that you'll enter the land of milk and honey, do they? And you won't want war. And you won't, that new Ferrari that you've been striving for ceases to be such a big thing. So that's your 1984. It's a great read. It's just not very helpful. Well, not helpful for the solution. It's Susie. God bless you, Susie. Thank you so much. Susie has supported me and the channel and me as a friend for many years now. And she's also a member of the Legends Club. You can see by the little Viking shield. Yeah. This is a fascinating one. This is where you have to step away from the masses and their beliefs, folks. Because if govern mente means to govern the mind, aka mind control, what do we think firma mente means? You've got the heavens and the earth. Earth is your carbon, your 666. Heaven is your ether, isn't it? It's your backdrop on which everything, it's the highest state of consciousness. It's pure nothingness. And what we're trying to attain is a state of nothingness. So we want to be in the heaven. But God separated it with a firmamente, didn't he? Is that a big glass thing in the sky like a cheese bloody bowl? You know, a cheese platter? Of course it's not. It's allegory. Everything in Scripture is allegory. It's not real. Everything in Scripture is about what is inside you. Nothing is external. Everything is about you, your actions, and what's inside you. And firmamente means if you're firm of mind, i.e. your ideas are fixed and they're rigid, and you've got to have scientific evidence for that, and these virologists, they know what they're talking, they know more than you. And the BBC, they tell the truth, and this guy's a brutal dictator, and if you don't do this, you're going to kill Nanny, right? Can you see the firmamente, the left brain indoctrinated programming that most people have? And in Scripture, the ancients, these wise men were saying, don't be the firm of the mind, because you're denying yourself, you know, you're denying yourself heaven on earth. There we go. Yes, I've actually got a copy of this. I've got a signed copy, believe it or not. Haven't read it, but you know, gotta learn about these things, haven't you, folks? Do you know what I mean? You gotta if you gotta read stuff and keep a bit back for yourself. Just because someone's written it, you don't have to believe that. You don't have to not believe it. You can exercise your gnosis, your knowing, which you get through honing your enlightenment skills, and then you'll know when you're being fucked over, folks. You know, you'll know when the society is in mass psychosis over certain beliefs. Yes, let's all start reading again. So Leroy, thank you for being a channel member. Really appreciate it. Is Killery in the Killuminati? And oh, there's Mel. Much love to you, Mel. Thank you so much for joining the Legends Club. I appreciate it. Right, we better go and bloody go about our day, haven't we? This has been, I think, over 2.5 hours, this stream. I just wanted to get it done. I can shut all these tabs now, and I'll try and be a bit more concise and get things in a bit of a quicker, more informative manner, folks, in future, because I can't be doing, 6-7 hours research in a day, then doing a stream for 2.5 hours, only to I can't even put bread on the table, and I'm honestly not exaggerating. I've got to change that around. Whatever. Either I stop doing this, or I got to do it in a way that works. So please forgive me if I ask you to support me. That's just essential, folks. And whatever I put in the thumbnail, I think we all know now, just YouTube, you got to take things with a pinch of salt, haven't you? There we go. There we go. Right. Excellent. Massive love to you all. Go steady.